Welcome to Bloombox Growing Deeper. I'm Sarah.
I'm Hannah, and we're on a mission to help you become the gardener you want to be. Hello, everybody. Welcome back. We're here, and I would say it is officially fall.
I think so, too.
So that fall stuff we've been talking now.
I just handed off the last fall bloom box before we started recording. Mm-hmm. So that makes it fall, which is kind of a funny way to say it.
And I've had a pumpkin spice latte.
Oh, are you having that right now?
No, this is vanilla.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I'm still drinking iced tea, but that's okay.
Yeah. It's still a little warm.
It is. I'm very excited. I'm meeting someone at my favorite tea shop tomorrow morning to discuss plants.
That does remind me that I know of a new tea maker using native plants, and they're native folks. So we should talk about that.
We should talk about this. Mm-hmm. Yes.
I got some samples.
Okay.
I'll bring them in.
I need to hear about this. Yeah. Mm-hmm. The one place I had been going closed during COVID.
Right.
So that's sort of a bummer. So I'm excited to hear about a new one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I would love to say that I harvest and dry all my own native plants for tea. I actually used to sell tea. That was before I started doing this job, and now this is what I do.
You were hustling.
I'm hustling, but I'm feeling relaxed because the hustle is over for fall.
Mm-hmm. Good.
I'm very happy about that.
Perfect.
You want to look back real quick before we move on to our topic?
Let's look back, and then we have to talk about an upcoming event.
Oh, yeah.
Spoiler alert, it's coming.
Okay.
Yes, but let's start with a look back.
Well, the reason I bring that up is because I just did my annual report, my check-in with my supervisor, and I put down all my numbers.
Oh, my gosh.
So in spring and fall of 2022, and that translates into 4,500 plants across Nebraska.
That's so many plants.
And I literally mean across Nebraska.
Yeah.
I mean like Falls City to Chadron.
Mm-hmm. Totally.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it.
I do
Good work,
too.
Sarah.
Thanks. Not just me, all of the gardeners doing the actual work.
But they wouldn't have it if you didn't get it to them.
Yes. It does mean a little bit of hustle, but it's one I'm happy to do.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Should we talk about what's coming up then?
Yeah.
We look forward. So we looked back, now into the future.
Okay, tell me what's coming.
Okay, October 25th, we have a brand new event called Plants and Pints.
Yay.
And I know your affinity for craft beer.
Yes, I'm very excited about this.
This is going to go well, I think. We are going to have 4 speakers technically from 2 different companies here in Nebraska focused on trees. And that would be Heather and Brian Byers. And they are going to be talking about their company, Great Plains Nursery. They started it not long after leaving the university here, graduating. I shouldn't say leaving, graduating from the university here. And they're going to be talking about why they chose to start that and kind of what that journey looked like. We are also going to hear from Amy and Jeff Grew. They own Arbor Aesthetics in Omaha. That's a tree care company. So tree trimming,
paired those perfectly.
I know, right?
Tree planting and tree care.
Yes. So tree care includes like trimming and removal and treatments for diseases, things like that.
They don't plant, I don't think.
I don't know. We can ask
We'll find
them.
out on the 25th.
That's right. So they're going to be sharing their journeys. It's an informal conversation, so don't feel like you're going to come and get lectured at. And while they're chatting with all of us, you can be enjoying pints of beer. Presumably. Water, I guess. There will be other drinks.
Jelly? Can I get a pint of jelly?
I don't know if they have that. There will be other beverages. I don't recommend having pints of those. You might get sick. But we're going to have a good time. It is 21 and over, and there are member discounts. So if you just go to plantnebraska.org/plants- that's a dash, pints. you'll be able to see all of the information, including time, location, and get tickets on there. And for those of you who haven't heard, it is going to be at the Barred Owl, which is a rooftop bar on Innovation Campus on top of the Scarlet Hotel here in Lincoln. We are renting out the whole bar. We get it to ourselves. It's going to be a great time.
I'm so excited about this. I will, of course, put that link in the show notes so you can find it easier. I have had so many wonderful conversations with Heather about, using trees ecologically, not just, to put by our streets and for their beauty, which we obviously appreciate them for, but also for the pollinators and other wildlife. And so it fits really well into, pollinator gardening in the fall as we move out of by the time this episode comes out, it'll still be safe to plant plants in eastern Nebraska for another week, maybe. But we're moving out of perennial planting season. There's still plenty you can be doing in the garden or to add to your yard to help our wildlife and our pollinators. And trees are a huge part of that.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So we hope that you'll join us there just for a night of chatting with your friends, bring people along, make a great date night, get a little bit of information, and also just a little bit of fun. Yeah. So
my husband's coming. I'm calling it multitasking. I'm working and it's date night.
There you go.
Does that count?
I think it counts because, my husband works at the Lead Center.
True.
So sometimes our date nights are also multitask.
Yes. Mm-hmm. That's fair. I think it's all fair. I like to multitask, though.
I'm trying to not multitask so much. But we'll see. Shall we move on to our fall beauty?
Yes. Okay, so our real topic for today, we want to talk about fall beauty and how to appreciate it. We've just gotten a few comments, either in conversation with NSA staff members or through our emails or through our interactions with people, that just show that, maybe not the Nebraska Statewide Arboretum folks, all of you who follow us and appreciate our mission, but the general public may have some trouble appreciating fall beauty. I think people look for the big show of the flame red oaks and the maples and the cottonwoods, and that I love that part of fall. Those years only come around every so often. We don't get that perfect fall color show every year like they do on the coast. But we have fall beauty in lots and lots of other ways.
One that is coming to mind right away, because I've seen it all over the Bloom Box Facebook group, in my own yard, everywhere, is snow flurry aster.
Yes.
That stuff exploded in the last week or so. And it is just like a blanket of white flowers. And I kid you not, every single flower on one of my plants had some sort of insect in it.
Yes.
At the same time.
I just have this blanket of it through my garden, and it kind of looks like it's vibrating because of all the insects visiting it. And that's the only aster I have right now. I'm planning to add some other ones. I do some of the annual ones that you grab at the grocery store, but I don't really see a whole lot of pollinators visiting those. But the other asters are putting on their show now. Depending on the kind of goldenrod you have, it's in full bloom. Mm-hmm. Mine, I have a Solidago odora, which is the sweet goldenrod. Mine's finished in eastern Nebraska. I did notice we were just driving through the sandhills this weekend, and a lot of the goldenrod growing in the ditches is fully blooming right now. And I've seen through people's yards, some species are going, some are fading, but we still got that yellow.
My goldenrod fireworks and Wichita.
Those are later ones.
Are both blooming.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And
perfect
gorgeous.
timing with your asters.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But there's, more subtle kinds of fall beauty too. I heard a comment, I heard from the curator of this public garden that they were having trouble with comments about, why is the garden looking so dead? And I happen to know this garden very well and know that it is not, in fact, dead. It's beautiful this time of year. And he just wasn't sure how to field that question because he's like, it's not dead. It's seeding out. It's in its it's doing its job. And there's a little more subtlety to appreciating a garden in seed, I think, than a garden in bloom.
Like not appreciating older people. I feel like it's kind of similar. It's all a life cycle.
It
so
is.
We need to appreciate every stage of it because the one would not be possible without the other.
I mean, obviously we need a garden to go to seed. You can ask Bob right now. He's frantically running all over the state collecting seed. And I think there's a lot of beauty there. I mean, my goldenrod is done blooming, but it's this cloud of white seed heads, and it's so pretty. And so the main thing that brought this to mind was on our drive. We drove through, we were going to Sioux County. It's where my in-laws live. So we were driving through the Sandhills and then up into the Pine Ridge. And the textures right now are just unbelievable. It's been so dry, we don't quite have the usual stunning red of the little blue stem that I love, but it's still red. But you've got the sturdy red rust color of the little blue stem. You've got the fluffy, kind of grays. You've got the white puffs of the grass seeds. And it's just this ever-changing texture. It looks like a watercolor all the way through the Sandhills. And then in the Pine Ridge, they did get a little bit of water this year. And so you do get the full little blue stem effect. They've still got goldenrod blooming. They had a few sunflowers left. There was some color left. And then you've got prairie drop seed and all just the fluffy grass heads showing their textures. And I don't know. I think sometimes we need to be reminded that beauty's not always just in these bright highlighter colors. Mm-hmm. There's some subtlety to it at this time of the fall, I think, for sure.
Yeah. I am struck every time I walk into Toby's office by that little blue stem that he has. He's drying it for fall and winter crafting and decorations. And it is a stunning shade of of course it has the normal grass yellow, brown, and then it's just purple.
Yeah, which you didn't even think was there.
Yeah, so I think it can be harder to see fall and winter beauty in large swaths. Yeah. But when you get out and get up close.
It's a great time to get your magnifying glass out. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and look at some of those seeds, how they're shaped and how they move either through the air. I mean, seeds move all different ways, and they are so cool. They can stick to us, which is less cool. I have to dig some sandburrs out of the bottom of my boots after this weekend. They can float on the air. They can float in the water, and to look at them through a magnifying glass can be really fun. Or just a close lens camera, too. Yeah, you can get some really cool textures.
Yeah. I think, is there anything more quintessential prairie winter than prairie drop seed covered in snow?
No.
With just steam.
Yes.
Or steam. Stem. Poking up through the snow with seeds on it.
Yeah. Oh. I love the seeding part of the fall. I love to look at textures. It's not like I don't love colors, but I'm kind of colored out. I mean, it's for me, and maybe it's just me personally, the colorful times of the year are the fastest for me. And they're kind of rush, get things done, get the weeding done, get your job done, help people plant here, help people plant there. This needs watered. So when it comes to this time of year, now I can look at kind of the muted colors and the textures and the shapes of a landscape. It gives me the chance to relax a little bit and reminds me to sit on the porch.
Yeah, I've been doing that. Yeah. And I think something we should link to in the show notes, our colleague Kendall put together a great, article or blog post about appreciating winter nature.
Yeah. We were talking about, we'll probably do an episode on that. I know that's a talk I was invited to give to a garden club in January. They want to just be reminded, what's good about this time of year. Sometimes we get stuck in that winter slump.
Yeah. Hopefully we get more snow this year.
Yeah, snow does help.
It definitely helps. It helps me anyways.
Yeah.
Even though I have to hand scoop it.
Oh, yuck.
But I don't care.
Okay.
It's worth it.
We got a snowblower last year. which means we didn't get any snow.
Didn't get any snow. I know
snow.
We thought about getting a snowblower after how intense the winter of 1920 was. Oh my gosh, that was so much snow, hand scooping. And then I was kind of glad we didn't after not getting any snow last year.
Right.
It'd still be in the box.
Yeah. We've got a pretty long ways to go. So ours did come out a couple times, but that's a sure way to make sure it doesn't snow.
I know, right? Anyways, fall.
Yeah, but fall, I mean, and I'm just looking at, I've got some senna seeds and some like dried flowers from an event in 2018, 4 years ago, still dried on my desk, and there's colors in there. They're not bright, but the gold of the yarrow and the purple of the liatris and the white, I mean, it's kind of white puffy of whichever grass that is. It's probably a pennisetum or something. And there's kind of a very deep purple from some lead plant. That's actually some cotton that I snagged out of the teaching garden. Puff.
Is the top one thistle?
No, it's meadow blazing star. Liatris.
Yeah. Okay, I was going back and forth on which one it was.
It kind of looks like a bunch of tiny thistles on a stem. But those are dried flowers from 4 years ago. And all I did was pick those and throw them in the back of the greenhouse until they dried up. So the colors are there. We just need to slow down and look for them.
So that is also another great way to appreciate fall beauty, is to go out and collect things.
Yes.
Go out, and I mean, of course, there's tons of resources online. We can link to Bob's talk on it, his PowerPoints that will point you in the right direction of specific things to collect. But trial and error.
Yeah.
I mean, don't collect poison ivy, but
please.
But
hemlock.
Yeah, but you can surely find some grasses and some things that you think are beautiful that then you can just cut off and dry.
Yeah. I think really the only key is that you get it before the seeds are falling off. So you can collect it in any stage you want if you like the flowers or you like the seeds. But if the seeds are already like crumbling apart, it's not going to dry. They're already dispersing. If you catch them before that, they'll last for a little bit longer.
Yeah. So some of those things might be a little too late, but there's still plenty out there. And then of course there's the classic leaf collecting.
Yes.
This is going to be the perfect time to find really unique and colorful, or maybe not colorful, leaves that you enjoy and press them out.
Or dip them in wax. Have you done that?
I have not.
You put wax in, I mean, you could do it in like a large like Scentsy thing or a small crock pot and melt some wax. I'm guessing just like the beads that you would get at, the craft store
like
for candle making.
Yeah,
just something that will be clear, not beeswax, because it will be yellow. And just dip the leaves in that and let it cool. I mean, it cools really fast. And then you've got... they won't be flattened unless, I guess you could press them first, but it preserves that color for a little bit longer.
Yeah. So there you go. So I think appreciating fall beauty to me is getting up close.
Yes, I do too. I think there are instances, I mean, if you're out in the wild landscapes, you can appreciate some very large scale fall beauty, but in our urban gardens, it's the up close that matters. And I saw an article come across my Pinterest page. I've been trying to spend less time on Facebook, which just means I scroll Pinterest instead, about what to do now for a crafty Christmas.
Yes. And my gosh, that makes me feel underachieving when I see those how to get ready now for Christmas. I was like, that's 3 months away.
I am getting ready for Halloween, thanks.
Yeah.
But if you wanted to do a lot of crafty decorating for Christmas, it's actually too late once you get to Christmas. Right now is the time when you collect those evergreen boughs and collect a big bucket of nice looking pine cones before the squirrels chew them up and they get mushy in the rain.
And acorns.
What else do people decorate with in winter? Berries. You can dip berries in wax too.
Yeah. I did do all natural decorating for one Thanksgiving. I think I bought some eucalyptus leaves to
Okay,
add.
that's fair.
So, but other than that, I collected most things because, we had just bought a house, so I didn't have a whole lot of money to be putting towards decorations for Thanksgiving. And so I collected pine cones and acorns, and we have some holly bushes.
Ooh,
so I was able to snag some of those. And I still use some of those, especially the pine cones. Here's a tip, I guess, if you want. I brushed lightly the outsides with gold paint.
Ooh,
so
on the pine cones?
Yeah, on the pine cones.
That
so
would be
like
very
the tips were
yes.
like gold frosted, I guess. And I got compliments for that.
I bet you did.
So
yeah.
And that was free because I already had the paint.
Yeah. I crafted stuff forever. I have my wedding flowers are my summer flowers. I did wildflowers as my wedding bouquet, and I dried them right away.
Yeah.
And so I did cheat a little bit, and I sprayed them with the Floral Save acrylic spray because they were kind of crumbly. Like I had bachelor buttons and hops in there, and they were just a little too delicate for me to trust. But that was 5 years ago, and I still bring them out every summer and use them as my summer arrangements.
That's so fun.
Yeah, because I would love to be the person that cuts flowers every couple weeks to have in a vase, but I'm barely feeding myself in the summer.
Do you know how much space you have to have in cut flowers into? Like just constantly blooming? That's always been something that I was like, I want to be able to do this. And then I started gardening more, and I was like, this is nearly impossible.
That's why they did it at like the English manor houses where they had acres of flowers. Yeah. Also, I'm barely eating lunch at that time of year. The last thing I need to add to my plate is make sure you cut this week's flowers.
I know Martha Stewart just shames us all.
Yes.
She basically has an English manor house. So,
well, yeah, then there you go. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I like to dry things, and then I just have a shelf in my laundry room where I can keep them. That's probably also key, that I don't try to put them in a box or something.
Right.
I just take them down to a different shelf and bring them back out.
Then you get to enjoy them when you're doing laundry.
Yeah, which is nice.
Yeah.
Oh, what else can we enjoy at this time of year? I think the other aspects of the landscape come out this time of year. The rocks and the logs and I love to look at lichens on the side of trees. Love to.
The mushrooms?
Mushrooms, yes.
It's fungi hunting season.
And I don't personally hunt them to eat because I just don't. I mean, I would love to. I just haven't learned how to do that yet. I just like looking at the textures they make and the shapes and the colors and the fact that they do not always grow on the north side of the tree.
No, I have created a new personal routine. Okay. Where once a week, usually Saturday morning, but things get in the way, like an Omaha plant sale, I go to go to Wilderness Park and walk, usually for a couple hours with the dog. And at first, it's fun because you're in a new place and you're walking and you look around.
You look at the big things.
Right. But recently I've been getting more into, I was walking down this path and a log or a tree had fallen over, and it was right about at eye level, and I saw some mushrooms, and I just kind of kept walking, and then I went, no, stop
and look at them.
Because this is why you're here, to do this kind of stuff. So I went back and I looked at them and I took a picture and I touched it, and then I was worried I was going to die because I touched it. And then I brought the picture back and I asked Bob, do you know what mushroom this is? And he did, of course. It's Bob. And he was like, yeah, you could collect that and you can put it in food and you dry it and all this stuff. So it's like stuff like that.
Yeah. What'd your dog think of the stopping and going back?
Well, we stop enough for him that I think it's fair that I get to stop.
You get to choose sometimes. Yeah.
Yeah, because he stopped this week for a good 20 seconds to roll in some grasses, just rolling and rolling.
I think you can look at your mushrooms then.
Yeah. He has a good time. We both do.
Good.
This week we did 12,000 steps in one walk.
My goal, Nick has agreed. Our goal for October is to go for a bike ride 4 days of the week.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. And I probably, since I included him on this goal, I probably can't count my daycare rides.
Probably not. That wouldn't be fair to him.
It was 47 degrees when we rode to daycare this morning, so that might have to stop, at least until I find our gloves.
Yeah. You're going to need to.
That was a little chilly.
A little. Yeah.
Tess is going, brr.
At least it's only a couple blocks.
It's only a few blocks. We were fine.
Yeah.
But I haven't figured out how to wear stocking cap and my bike helmet yet, so.
That's fair.
Yeah, that's kind of complicated. I lost my train of thought.
Sorry.
Just getting active, I guess. That's how, sometimes people are like, how did you learn so many plants? And that's the way, just by taking the time to stop and look. I'm not afraid to stop what I'm doing and look at a plant or touch it.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes you need to. That touch might be what sticks in your head that you might remember. Oh, it had a little fuzzy leaf, or
because you itch afterwards,
or you itch after you touched it, and then you're like, now I know what nettles look like.
Yeah. Don't touch your eyes.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's not how I've learned plants, because I learned plants through a Spring Affair online crash course.
You did.
That
was a fairly brutal crash course.
But I am working on learning birds that way.
Ooh.
Thanks to our good friend, Jason, the bird nerd. And he got me hooked up with this app, Merlin Bird ID.
Okay.
Right? And they have updated it recently. So if you've tried it and you were like, that was hard to use, they updated it much more user-friendly. This is another great way to appreciate outdoor fall because there's not as many leaves. So you can see the birds.
Right. That makes sense.
So, because I think most of us would recognize that you hear the birds usually before you see them. And so I'm always trying to find them. But you can record the calls on this app, and then it will identify the bird through your recording.
Wow. I needed that last night. We had this flock of birds across the street from us filling like 3 trees. When I got out of my car, it was deafening.
Yeah.
And they were some kind of blackbird, but I don't think we have like true blackbirds here. So I'm not sure what they are.
So then when it spits back out at you, here's what bird it probably is. Then you can look at the pictures and see if you can find it.
I'm going to get that.
It's free. So
cool.
It's a great app. I highly recommend. And then it helps you track. If you're trying to keep track of which birds you have found or seen, it'll help keep track of it.
Oh, yes. I'm going to get that. That sounds like fun. I do not know birds.
I don't know birds at all. I'm so terrible at birds. And so that's also what I'm using this time when I can see them a little bit better. Yeah. And, I feel like also the woods, whatever, gets quieter in the fall and winter.
Yeah. Yeah.
So aside from crunching.
Sound travels more because the leaves are falling. Yeah. I think that's very true. Your mushrooms made me think of I kind of think of them as like miniature landscapes where if you really zoom in on a spot and you see like the shapes that roots and bark and even like the ground make. We were walking down by the river at my in-laws this weekend, and it's like very steep cliffs, right? I mean, we're talking about the Pine Ridge, so it's like steep, sandy, craggy cliffs with like pine tree roots sticking out of them and like
so cool
mullein growing out of cracks. And I love
horizontal.
Yes. Yeah. And it's so cool to just like just really zoom in on one of those and see the kind of miniature landscapes where it's a tree root, but it's also got a little mullein and a little sage growing out of it and some lichens or something. And
I love looking at just the pattern of lichen.
Yeah. They're so cool.
Yeah.
And then I did get a little too into my tree root and I got splashed because we were actually at the river to throw rocks in it. And they found a really big rock and it got me.
Sure.
And I about fell in because I was so into my tree root, I was not paying attention.
Oh, no.
And I jumped when I got splashed by the river, but
it was cold.
It was very cold. That river comes from a spring, and it was not a warm weekend, so it was quite chilly.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was also neat, though, because as the where we were, the cows have kind of kept it mowed down so you don't get the really tall river weeds.
Don't you love cows?
Yeah. I mean, you got to watch your step, but they exposed a lot of things to observe. Like this whole riverbank was covered in Nebraska sedge, which I know from experience in other spots on the river that where the cows don't eat it down, that sedge isn't as prevalent because it gets buried by the taller things. It might be there, but you can't see it. Mm-hmm. And I love that sedge because it's got like a silver tint to it. And so it just makes this really pretty, like, kind of changing color as you walk in the sun. Yeah. And the sun kind of shines off one side and doesn't shine off the other side of the leaf. So those kind of things, like the dull and shiny comparisons, can make really pretty things to look at.
Why don't we have Nebraska sedge?
We do.
We sell it?
Yeah. It's under the oak trees.
No, but do we sell it?
Yeah.
Under the oak trees in the greenhouse.
Yes.
Got it.
Not every oak tree, under our oak trees in the greenhouse. It's a very...
Which oak tree?
Under all the red oak trees, you will find a patch of Nebraska sedge. Okay. Under our oak trees in the greenhouse. It's a very, very wetland sedge.
Oh, okay. That's why I've never used it.
Yeah. As far as we can tell... we need to experiment a little further, but
we can use it at my dad's pond.
Yeah.
We're going to have my dad come on to talk about this pond.
Oh, that would be so fun.
Not. He is digging out by hand this like giant, it's probably as big as your office.
Oh my goodness.
And he's digging it down.
I mean,
anyways.
You did say he was getting a little excavator.
And then all the ones that he could rent were broken and they didn't know when they would be fixed.
So he's hand digging it?
Mm-hmm.
Well,
because he wants to get it done by winter so we can put the liner in and start to fill it with any snow melt or anything.
Okay, well, that makes sense.
Yeah, because it's supposed to help with his water conservation. That's his goal.
Okay. Well, good for him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's a lot of digging. Let's talk about this email we got a little further, because it's a really good question. And the question, you got the email, so why don't you tell us what they were asking?
Okay. So the question was, this person had recently, maybe not recently, but probably in the spring, had planted a pollinator garden in what sounds like to be a homeowner association right away. So a place that was probably managed by the homeowners association, and they took out bluegrass and they put in pollinators. I think they said it was 40 by 40.
Okay.
So pretty big.
Yeah. And like in Bellevue? No. Eastern Nebraska.
Yeah. Southeast Nebraska, probably. Anyways, he was getting complaints from neighbors about weed encroachment, is the way he put it. We don't know if that's weeds in that we would pull them even from our pollinator gardens, or if they're talking about the pollinator plants, the intended plants are becoming weeds in other people's gardens. Because remember, a plant that you didn't want, any plant is considered a weed in your garden. So even if it's your most prized plant in your garden, in their garden, it's a weed. Mm-hmm. So,
and that's fair.
That's totally fair.
Everybody has the right to say, I did not want this plant in my garden. Mm-hmm. So to me, it's a weed.
Exactly. So he was kind of wondering, what can we do to help people understand, one, the value of pollinator gardens and pollinator plants, and then how do we help with this weed situation?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And we gave him, we've talked extensively about why pollinator plants are so important. And so I'm sure you provided him with all of the materials you have to share on that.
Well, I just sent him hours of podcasts. Here, listen.
And force all your neighbors to listen.
That's right. Play it on a loudspeaker on Halloween.
Oh, goodness.
It's a true haunted house.
Oh, goodness.
No, one of the main things I told him, especially when it's a public area, which it sounds semi-public since it's homeowners association, is signage.
Yeah.
Signage helps.
It's probably too late, but going back, what I hope that he did when they did install this is that while I firmly believe we can use native plants in any location, it doesn't mean we can plant a prairie in every location.
Right.
So the more public or more structured the area is, the same needs to be true of our garden if we want other people to appreciate it. If you don't care what other people think, then by all means do whatever you want. But if we're trying to win over neighbors, and also if this is a shared area, then they deserve to appreciate it too. Yeah. A little bit of design goes a long way.
Yeah, and I am unsure. It sounds like the neighborhood association came together to plant it, but maybe they didn't communicate to all the association members what was happening and why.
Or it
just got missed because people don't read.
People don't read. Or, I do get a lot of like, well, I like a formal garden and I want to plant for pollinators, so I should be able to make native plants look exactly like XYZ type of garden. And sometimes people get frustrated when they did this good thing and then it didn't fit into what they wanted it to look like. And we do have to give that freedom to native plants, that we can design with them and give them some formality, but they are still themselves. And we also want them to be.
Yeah. And the next thing we recommended was being choosy, like Sarah said, designing not just for structure, but also choosy about your plants.
Yeah.
To make sure they're not plants that can be considered something that takes a lot of management.
Yes.
You think about that bee balm, which can easily take over if you don't actively manage it.
Yeah.
I think certain types of
goldenrod can be a problem. There are ones that can be managed more, and so it would be good to make that choice.
Yeah.
I have seen people purposely plant mullein in pollinator gardens, and there's people who just heard that and like choked because it can be very unmanageable. And if that's not if you don't live in an area where you have the freedom to plant unmanageable plants, then you need to be a good neighbor.
Right. You're going to run into weed board problems.
Yeah. Strongly, probably.
I have mullein popping up in my garden. I have no idea where it came from.
Well, that's the other thing is I read into that email too, like a little bit of what did we do wrong that we have weeds encroaching, and sometimes you did nothing wrong.
Right.
Weeds are going to come from further away than you have the ability to control. And
for a minute, I thought it came in the mulch, and then I remembered that the mulch I put there was from my ash tree that I had to get removed in the front yard.
So it never left your yard. That's kind of cool.
Yeah. So I got nothing. It just showed up.
Yeah.
And I thought, nothing else is growing here. Let's see what happens. Which is famous last words.
It is good for the pollinators.
Yeah.
It can just be frustrating to keep where you want it. Yeah. The other thing, too, is I found, like you said, just to tell people that somebody is working here. I don't know why that matters so much, but it's like the same place that people thought was a patch of weeds. As soon as they know someone wanted it there, they're like, oh, look at that pretty garden.
Yes.
So just let it be known that you are, in fact, working. I read that email this morning, and then I went and took a shower, and I was thinking about this. Because why should I not think about pollinator gardens in every moment of my day? I was like, wouldn't it be cool if we made a sign that said, look at our community garden. If you would like to be of assistance in this garden, here's the days we work. And the people could write in with Sharpie that, we work every Thursday night at 5. Come join us. As it, probably no one will. But the fact that they were invited now just gives them a different attitude.
Well, it serves two things. It's one, they know it's managed. The people are actively thinking about it on a weekly or every other week or whatever basis. And two, they feel guilty because they didn't help.
If you didn't want to help, your ability to complain
Yeah.
drops down. And it does also remind people, too, that some patience is necessary because, if this is managed by volunteers, it is not fair to expect every single weed to be pulled unless you show up to do it.
Right. You can pull them all.
Yeah. It is fair that if you live in this neighborhood and the association as a whole wanted to put this garden in, that it should be maintained to an acceptable level. But you can't, you start to lose that feeling that you can expect it to be pristine if you don't wish to come help it be so.
Mm-hmm. Can I tell you my latest and greatest favorite community guerrilla gardening story?
Yes.
Have you been keeping up on our favorite podcast, Normal Gossip?
No.
There's an episode. By the way, everyone should listen to Normal Gossip. It's great. But there's an episode where things are getting a little unneighborly.
Ooh.
And there's rules because this neighborhood has a lot of feral cats. And so there's rules about like not feeding the feral cats. Right. Because you don't want more.
Right.
And all of a sudden they notice one of the houses like always has the feral cats around always. And so they charged him like, oh, you've been feeding the feral cats. And he was not a nice person. So eventually he sold his house and he left. And then the neighbor next door admitted that she had sprinkled cat nip seeds all over his yard, and that's why all the feral cats were there.
My goodness.
I don't recommend that, guys. That's not nice.
That
I thought it was great.
That's worse than the Roundup Ready Bean joke.
Oh, right.
Which I think was always a joke. I don't think that ever actually happened. You've heard that, right? Where people don't like their neighbors, so they seed their yard with Roundup Ready beans. Yeah.
Oh.
Pretty sure that's a joke. I hope.
Right.
We don't advocate for that.
No, be nice neighbors.
If you wish to guerrilla garden in a bloom box, supported way.
Just don't put our sign.
I was going to say, offer to help an elderly neighbor.
Oh, they sure. I'm still going for like true guerrilla gardening. Just make sure nobody knows the signs there.
Do not put signage up in that particular case.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's funny.
You should listen to that episode.
I'm going to have to.
All right. Well, I think we've talked quite a bit about fall appreciation.
Yeah.
A little bit into winter, but we're going to talk about that later. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, just some ways to let your neighbors know that your garden is being managed.
Yeah. We have a couple minutes left.
Okay.
And I wanted to spend it on a surprisingly popular topic.
Okay.
Fall planted bulbs.
Oh, yeah. I forgot about the bulbs.
How did you forget about the bulbs?
I don't know.
My inbox has not forgotten about the bulbs.
I'm sure it hasn't.
So we do this thing through Bloombox, and we've done it for a couple years now, but I started out not advertising it too heavily, and as we felt our way around it. But we offer our Bloombox bulbs, kind of a booster or an add-on to a Bloombox garden.
Triple B.
Yeah. We like alliterations around here. Especially with the bees. So the thought behind this is that early spring blooms are really hard to do with plants that you sell in pots.
Especially small pots.
Especially small pots. And so, while with Bloombox, I try really hard to give full season color. There's just that first bit in the spring, especially for fall planted gardens. A lot of our native spring blooming plants are ephemeral around here, which means that they come up and they kind of fade away, truly fade away to the point where you can't see their leaves.
Right.
And that's what a lot of our bulbs do. And so it makes them very difficult to sell in pots, especially since by the time we start holding plant sales, they're almost done blooming and they're starting to completely fade. So with bulbs, we can get spring bloomers like crocuses and snowdrops and things that are blooming real early. And there's not a ton in the trade that are necessarily native. And the research is still floating, I would say. But observation-wise, we have bulbs that the bees visit.
Absolutely.
We have plenty of bulbs.
I found a bee asleep in one of my tulips this spring.
Is the cutest thing I've ever heard.
I know, right?
Oh my goodness. That's like the little field mouse picture of sleeping in the tulip. Oh, that's so sweet. So we started doing this a couple years ago where you can order during September a package of bulbs. And it's the same as Bloombox. You're just telling me you want bulbs, and you're going to get what we select based on our research and based on the availability. And then I work with this company that is really, really helpful in that they choose when to ship them to me based on when the appropriate planting time is. So I get the bulbs, and I can turn them around and send them right back out to customers. And if you're getting them from me, you can plant them. Because that can be a tricky thing with bulbs, that if we plant fall bulbs too early and the soil temperatures are still too high, then either they have the potential to rot and mold, or they just wander off with a squirrel, which tends to be my problem. If anyone has a solution to that, I'm here for it. So
I don't have any humane solutions.
I don't have any humane solutions either. I did find out the other day that what I thought was a squirrel problem in my aster pot was actually a bulldozer problem.
Mini bulldozer.
Yep. Or
at the hand of a toddler.
At the hand of a toddler who thought it looked like the perfect place to try out his new bulldozers. Sent to him so graciously by our Western Forester, Chrissy Land.
Thanks, Chrissy.
Thanks, Chrissy. He's digging at my asters now. I'll send him your way next.
There you go.
I did have to give the squirrels a small apology for that one. But I'm going to be sending those out. So ordering season's done for this year, but there's still plenty of bulbs in the garden center.
Yeah. Or you could order your own.
Or you could order your own. You don't need me to order bulbs. And so I just wanted to bring up some of the ones crocuses have been one of my favorites. There's a couple irises that do really well as little ones.
Yeah.
Because, we all have the tall irises.
Yep.
These are little bitty ones. Tulips are really good for pollinators. I think hyacinths can be really, really great for pollinators. So don't forget the bulbs, especially, if you're like, I know I'm not supposed to clean up my fall garden for the pollinators, but it's really nice out. And now I want to do stuff again. Plant some bulbs.
Yes. Yeah. My favorite, the giant allium.
Yeah. I want to get some of those just so I can kind of swat them in the spring.
Yeah. They're fun.
They just look puffy.
Yeah, they're magical.
Yeah.
I think they're perfect for a children's garden.
I think they would be. There's down the block some of them, and I have to stop Silas from grabbing them. And I'm like, I know, dude. I want to grab them too.
They just look like dandelion puffs as big as your head.
Like Dr. Seuss level dandelion puffs. Yeah. So think about bulbs.
There could be a whole Whoville on that thing. Horton, here's the Who.
Yeah.
Gotta love it.
We were watching that a few weeks ago.
Anyways,
so yes,
think
that's
about
something
your
you can do for yourself in the spring and the pollinators. Because as we know, 50 to 55 degrees and they're out buzzing around. And so
soil temperature.
No.
You're talking about pollinators.
Sorry, the bees come out if it gets above about 55 degrees. Soil temperature, we're kind of looking at we're probably looking lower than that.
Yeah.
50 to 40. You want it before a killing frost.
Right.
And before the ground. Actually, I'm just reading this. It says after you've had your first killing frost.
Oh, okay.
But before the ground freezes hard.
Sure.
Yes.
Okay.
That makes sense. Yeah. And roughly zone 5, that puts us, I think this is old news. It says zone 5, that puts us October 1st through 15th. I don't think we've had that good of a killing frost before October 15th in a while.
Yeah, we have 80-degree temperatures scheduled for the next 2 weeks. We scheduled them.
Yep, we planned it. We requested those.
Forecasted for the next couple of weeks.
So I'm probably not shipping bulbs till after October 15th because I think it'll be too warm. You're just going to get moldy bulbs and you're going to feed your squirrels.
Yep. Nobody wants moldy bulbs. I don't know why that sounds bad, but it does.
Because we drank too much caffeine.
Too much
probably.
caffeine. We've got 5 hours of work left.
Yeah. We're going on a garden walk tonight.
Yeah. I think that's it for now.
Ooh, I'm going to make one PSA.
Okay.
So I get some questions sometimes about people, especially if they have most of their gardening experience with annuals and they've come to Bloombox and this is the first time they've planted perennials. You do not need to cover your perennials when we start getting frosts. In fact, if you leave them uncovered, you're going to get even better colors from your asters and your goldenrods and things like that. The cooler temperatures just bring out even more color. They will be just fine. They are hardy and ready to go for the winter. So no frost protection needed in this garden.
Absolutely. We try to make this as easy as possible.
It's our goal. Yeah, except we don't plant it for you.
No, we don't, which was one person's complaint about Bloombox last week.
Yes. If I could figure out how to get you 25 plants planted in your garden for $125, man, I'd do it. But
it doesn't sound legal.
Doesn't sound sound doable.
Yeah, no.
We recommend you plan your own garden labor.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. That's what grandkids, kids, yourself. That's what that's for.
Your husband, your dog. Yeah. Dogs are great at digging holes.
That's true.
You might have a very randomly planted garden.
Yes.
A bulldozer. I can send you a very small bulldozer.
It might take a while.
Works best in loose soil.
I love it.
Well.
All right. We talked fall.
We did. Go enjoy it.
Next time we'll be done with fall planting stuff.
Probably. Stop listening to us. Go listen to some birds.
There you go.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it. All right. Well, thanks everybody for listening. Don't forget to rate and review us wherever you are listening. That truly helps us a lot. You've all said some really amazing things and we appreciate it. And of course, feel free to send us your questions. Hopefully we've been answering them, but if you do have more questions that we haven't gotten to, please send them our way and we'll be happy to do that.
I try to answer them as they come in, but then we will we're saving them up too for another question and answer episode.
Yes. You can do that by sending in a voice memo or by sending us an email at
growingwithbloombox@gmail.com.
There you go. And so thank you all for listening. Bloombox and Bloombox Growing Deeper are both programs of the Nebraska Statewide Arboretum.